The Zephyra drifted silently through the void, its crystalline hull pulsing weakly with fatting bioluminescence. Chief Navigator Lysandra of the Astari watched helplessly as the last power reserves dwindled in their damaged vessel. Her species' natural glow, usually a brilliant azure, had dimmed to a faint flicker as their life support systems failed. The ship's crew of 15, including 3 juveniles, huddled in the central chamber. Their vessel, renowned for its bioengineered technology, had been caught in a quantum surge while studying an unstable neutron star. The Astari's advanced shielding had protected them from immediate destruction, but at a devastating cost. "Fourth distress signal sent," announced First Officer Thuron, his translucent appendages trembling slightly. "3 consortium vessels have passed within range. None responded." The unspoken reason hung heavy in the recycled air. The Astari's biotechnology made them valuable targets for pirates. No captain would risk approaching an unknown distress signal in this lawless sector. The temperature continued to drop as primary systems shut down one by one. The Astari could survive extreme cold, but the juveniles were another matter. Their developing crystal matrices were far more vulnerable to temperature fluctuations. That's when they detected it, an approaching vessel unlike anything in their database. Its design was brutally practical, lacking the organic curves and crystalline aesthetics common to consortium ships. The vessel's hull bore scars of numerous repairs and modifications. "Unknown ship broadcasting on primitive frequency bands," Thuron reported, surprise evident in his fluctuating bioluminescence. A voice crackled through their receivers in halting but clear consortium standard. "Astari vessel, this is Captain Marcus Blackwood of the Earth Emergency Response Ship Relentless. We've detected your distress beacon. Please respond if you're receiving." Lysandra's crystals vibrated with recognition. Humans, the newest spacefaring species, barely a century into faster-than-light travel. Their methods were considered crude, their technology primitive by consortium standards. Some elder races had argued against even admitting them to the galactic community. "This is Chief Navigator Lysandra," she responded, her translator struggling with the archaic communication method. "Critical systems failure, life support failing, we have juveniles aboard." The response was immediate. "Understood, Lysandra. Launching emergency pods now. Our engineering team has experience with crystalline biotechnology. Hold tight, help is coming." Through the viewport, Lysandra watched as several pods detached from the human vessel, their trajectories precise despite their seemingly basic technology. Within minutes, human engineers in environmental suits were aboard, working efficiently to stabilize their ship systems. They handled the alien crystalline technology with unexpected expertise, showing neither fear nor hesitation. "Why," Lysandra finally asked one of the engineers, "why risk yourselves for unknown aliens?" The human paused in his work, his voice clear through the suit's comm system. "Because out here, we're all in this together. Earth learned that lesson centuries ago. The void doesn't care what species you are. Either we help each other or we all face the dark alone." As warmth returned to the ship and her crew's bioluminescence brightened, Lysandra realized that perhaps true advancement wasn't measured in technological sophistication, but in the willingness to extend a helping hand to strangers among the stars. The great assembly hall of the Galactic Consortium blazed with artificial starlight, its vast dome reflecting the agitated energy signatures of dozens of species representatives. The rescue of the Astari vessel had sparked a diplomatic crisis that threatened centuries of established protocol. Grand Arbiter Nexus, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate mechanical frame, addressed the assembly. "This session will examine the recent unauthorized intervention by human emergency response vessel Relentless in Sector 7 Alpha." The Arbiter's voice resonated through quantum channels. "Captain Marcus Blackwood, please step forward." Blackwood stood before the assembly, his simple Navy uniform stark against the elaborate technological displays surrounding him. He looked almost primitive compared to the advanced beings present, yet his posture remained confident. "You violated 17 separate protocols regarding technological intervention," Nexus continued. "Your actions could have resulted in catastrophic cascade failures in the Astari's crystalline matrix. How do you justify this risk?" Lysandra, now fully recovered and glowing with healthy azure light, watched from her delegation's platform. The human's response surprised her. With respect, Grand Arbiter, Blackwood replied, I can cite 23 cases where strict adherence to protocol resulted in preventable deaths. The consortium's own records show that 3 vessels passed the Astari ship without rendering aid. Would you have preferred we maintain protocol while juveniles died? Murmurs rippled through the assembly. A representative of the Mechanoid Collective, Prototype Unit 847, raised an objection. Human methods are chaotic, unpredictable. Your species lacks the computational capacity to properly assess risk factors in complex xenobiological systems. Yet they succeeded where others failed, interrupted a new voice. Director Helios of the Emergency Response Division stepped onto the speaking platform, his holographic form shimmering. I've reviewed the Relentless's rescue logs. Their methods, while unorthodox, showed remarkable adaptation to Astari biology. They came prepared with multiple solutions, including crystalline-compatible power cells. That's impossible, Unit 847 countered. Humans lack access to such advanced technology. We studied, Blackwood said simply, every known spacefaring species, every biological quirk, every technological system. We might not understand it all, but we learned enough to help. That's what humans do, we prepare for the unexpected. The assembly erupted in debate. Lysandra observed how different species reacted, some with outrage, others with growing interest. A young quantum theorist, their probability patterns fluctuating rapidly, posed a question that silenced the chamber. What if the humans are right? What if our protocols have become barriers rather than safeguards? Grand Arbiter Nexus's energy form pulsed with concern. You suggest we abandon millennia of careful regulation, replace structured response with human improvisation. I suggest, Blackwood responded, pulling up holographic rescue statistics, that we learn from each other. Keep the protocols that work, adapt the ones that don't. Space is endless, and so are the ways things can go wrong out there. We need every tool, every perspective. Director Helios's hologram expanded, displaying rescue footage from the Relentless. Look at how they combine their basic technology with advanced systems. They're not replacing our methods, they're complementing them. The debate continued for hours, but Lysandra noticed a shift in the energy signatures around her. The younger species representatives especially showed growing support for what became known as the human approach, flexible, adaptable, and focused on saving lives above maintaining protocol. As the session concluded, Blackwood found himself surrounded by curious representatives seeking to learn more about human emergency response techniques. Even Unit 847 approached, mechanical appendages clicking thoughtfully. Your species' approach defies logical progression, the mechanoid stated. Yet results indicate effectiveness. This requires further study. Blackwood smiled. We have a saying on Earth, necessity is the mother of invention. Sometimes the best solutions come from having to work with what you have. Lysandra watched as the human captain patiently answered questions, shared rescue strategies, and built bridges between species that had remained isolated by protocol for centuries. Perhaps, she thought, this was humanity's true gift to the galaxy, not their technology or their methods, but their ability to bring others together in the name of saving lives. The Relentless's training bay hummed with an unprecedented gathering of species. Captain Blackwood stood before a holographic disaster simulation, surrounded by representatives from 12 different civilizations. The once controversial human emergency response methods had evolved into the galaxy's first multi-species rescue initiative. Integration Training Day 1, Blackwood announced, studying his unusual class. Today we'll learn how different species' abilities can complement each other in crisis situations. Among the trainees, Engineer Vex of the Mechanoid Collective processed data streams alongside Lysandra, whose crystalline form now served as a natural emergency beacon. Quantum theorist Zara, their probability field rippling with excitement, calculated rescue trajectories, while Unit 847 had surprisingly volunteered as a tactical coordinator. The ship's AI interrupted. Emergency alert. Mining colony outpost Sigma 9 reporting catastrophic containment failure. Multiple species affected. Nearest consortium vessel 6 hours away. Blackwood's expression shifted from instructor to commander. Still want a practical lesson? This is now a live exercise. Anyone not comfortable can remain. He stopped, noticing all trainees moving to action stations. Calculating quantum probability matrices for optimal approach, Zara announced, their forms splitting across multiple timelines. Mechanoid systems interfacing with colonies' emergency protocols, Vex reported, mechanical tendrils connecting to the ship's computers. The Relentless streaked through space, its human crew working seamlessly with their alien counterparts. As they approached the mining colony, the situation's complexity became clear. The facility housed 5 different species, each requiring unique environmental conditions. The containment breach threatened them all differently. Standard protocols would prioritize species by technological advancement, Unit 847 observed, scanning the colony's layout. Not today, Blackwood responded. We save everyone we can, period. Zara, give me best probability paths for each species. Lysandra, your crystalline biology can withstand the radiation. I need you leading the inner team. Vex, work with our engineers to maintain emergency barriers between environmental zones. The rescue operation became a symphony of diverse abilities. Lysandra's bioluminescence guided survivors through darkened corridors, while her crystalline form protected them from radiation. Vex's mechanical precision kept failing systems operational just long enough. Zara's quantum calculations predicted and prevented 3 secondary disasters before they occurred. Even Unit 847 found their rigid programming adapting to the human approach, learning to make split-second decisions based on immediate needs rather than predetermined protocols. The mechanoid discovered that their vast computational power, when freed from strict guidelines, could innovate solutions they'd never considered possible. Hours later, as the last survivors were evacuated and the colony's system stabilized, the mixed-species team gathered in the Relentless's observation deck. Exhaustion showed differently on each of them, dimmed bioluminescence, slowed mechanical movements, fluctuating probability fields, but all shared a sense of accomplishment. Your methods remain chaotic, Unit 847 said to Blackwood, their mechanical voice carrying an unfamiliar tone. But today I observed that chaos can have purpose, structure. Organized chaos, Lysandra added, her crystals pulsing with newfound understanding. Like the universe itself. Zara's probability field stabilized on a single timeline for the first time since the mission began. I calculated millions of possible outcomes. The ones where we worked separately all ended in failure. Unity was the key variable. Blackwood smiled, watching human and alien crew members sharing stories, comparing techniques, and already discussing improvements for future operations. That's what humanity learned centuries ago when we were still earthbound. Every disaster taught us the same lesson: we're stronger together than apart. The ship's AI announced another distress call, and without hesitation, the entire team moved to respond. As they rushed to their stations, Vex's mechanical appendages clicked thoughtfully. Humans have a saying about necessity driving invention. Perhaps necessity also drives unity. The Relentless's new mission wasn't just about saving lives anymore. With each rescue, each shared challenge, they were forging something unprecedented. A future where the galaxy's divisions faded before the simple truth that everyone deserves help, regardless of species, technology, or origin. As they jumped to faster-than-light speed, Blackwood reflected that this was how real change happened. Not through grand proclamations or political debates, but through different species working side by side, saving lives together, proving that in the face of crisis, their differences became their greatest strength. The Emergency Response Academy on Mars bustled with unprecedented activity as species from across the consortium gathered for the first Galactic Rescue Summit. The massive dome, originally built to train human emergency responders, now hosted beings of every conceivable form and composition. Commander Blackwood, recently promoted for his pioneering work in multi-species rescue operations, watched as Lysandra demonstrated crystalline communication techniques to a group of fascinated human medics. Her bioluminescent patterns could penetrate types of interference that blocked conventional signals, making her invaluable in complex rescue scenarios. The applications extend beyond emergency response, Lysandra explained, her azure glow pulsing with enthusiasm. We've already adapted this method for deep space exploration and medical imaging. Nearby, Vex had opened several panels in their mechanical frame, allowing human engineers to study their adaptive repair systems. Human improvisation combined with mechanoid precision, the robot observed. The efficiency increase exceeds all projected calculations. The Academy's main simulation chamber had been transformed into a technological melting pot. Quantum theorist Zara worked with human probability experts, their combined insights revolutionizing risk assessment in crisis situations. Unit 847, once the staunchest critic of human methods, now led a team developing hybrid protocols that merged consortium structure with human flexibility. Emergency simulation beginning, announced the Academy's AI. Scenario: plasma storm in an asteroid mining facility, multiple environmental hazards, limited communication. Teams rushed to their positions, but unlike traditional consortium responses where species worked separately, these groups were intentionally mixed. Humans worked alongside crystalline beings, mechanoids interfaced with quantum entities, each contributing their unique abilities to the whole. Remarkable, noted Director Helios, his holographic form observing from the control room. 6 months ago, this level of cooperation would have been deemed impossible. Blackwood watched as Lysandra's crystal matrix interfaced with Vex's mechanical systems, creating an entirely new form of sensor array. "We're not just sharing knowledge," he replied. "We're creating it. Every combination of species brings new possibilities." The simulation highlighted this evolution. When communication systems failed, Lysandra's bioluminescent signals, enhanced by mechanoid amplifiers, maintained contact between teams. Zara's quantum calculations, processed through Unit 847's advanced computers and interpreted through human intuition, predicted and prevented cascade failures before they began. "Innovation born of necessity," Unit 847 commented later during the simulation debrief. "Human chaos theory suggested this was possible, but experiencing it directly has changed my fundamental programming." A junior human engineer raised her hand. "We've been studying the mechanoid's repair protocols. If we combine them with Astari crystal growth patterns, we could develop self-healing hulls for rescue vessels." The suggestion sparked intense discussion. Species that once guarded their technological secrets now openly shared knowledge, driven by the shared goal of saving lives. The old barriers of technological hierarchy began to crumble as each group recognized the value in others' approaches, no matter how different. Zara's probability field flickered with excitement. "I've analyzed millions of potential futures. The timelines where we continue this exchange show technological advancement accelerating beyond any previous projections." "But that's not the most important outcome," Lysandra added, her crystals pulsing thoughtfully. "Look around this room. Every being here has stopped seeing others as alien. We're all just rescuers now." As if to prove her point, a group of trainees from 6 different species had gathered around a holographic display, enthusiastically discussing improvements to environmental suits. Their differences in biology and technology had become advantages to be celebrated rather than barriers to be overcome. Blackwood smiled, remembering the skepticism that had greeted the first mixed-species rescue teams. Now, watching human ingenuity combine with alien expertise to create something greater than the sum of its parts, he understood that they were witnessing more than just technological progress. They were forging a new way of existence, where the boundaries between species faded before the simple truth that knowledge, like compassion, only grows when shared. "We're not just training rescue workers," he told Director Helios. "We're building bridges between worlds, one saved life at a time." As another simulation began, the mixed teams moved with practiced coordination, their diverse abilities harmonizing into a single, effective unit. In the face of crisis, artificial divisions dissolved, leaving only the shared commitment to helping others, regardless of their origin among the stars. The emergency alert shattered the routine of the Mars Academy with unprecedented urgency. A quantum cascade failure at the Centauri Deep Space Research Station threatened to tear a hole in space-time, endangering billions across 3 star systems. Commander Blackwood stood in the Academy's command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the growing catastrophe. The station's experimental quantum core had destabilized, creating ripples through space-time that threatened to expand exponentially. "This is what we've trained for," he addressed the assembled rescue teams. "But the scale is beyond anything we've faced. The consortium estimates we have 8 hours before the cascade becomes irreversible. Lysandra's crystalline form pulsed with determination. My people's ships can withstand quantum distortions better than most. We'll take point on the approach. Mechanoid collective processing power at maximum, Vex announced, their mechanical form already interfacing with the Academy's systems. Beginning quantum containment calculations. Zara's probability field sparked with intense activity. Multiple timeline analysis shows success rate of 0.03% using conventional methods. But, they hesitated, if we combine all our unique capabilities in ways never attempted before, the probability rises to 17.4%. Those odds are still, Unit 847 began. Better than zero, Blackwood interrupted. And humans have beaten worse odds before, let's move. The response fleet launched from Mars within the hour, an unprecedented collection of vessels from every participating species. The Astari crystalline ships led the formation, their natural resistance to quantum distortion creating a path for the others. Human emergency vessels followed, their unorthodox modifications allowing them to operate in conditions that would cripple standard ships. As they approached the research station, the true scope of the disaster became clear. Space itself seemed to twist and warp around the facility, creating visual distortions that made navigation nearly impossible. Standard sensors failing, reported Unit 847 from their command position in the fleet's tactical center. Quantum distortions exceeding predicted parameters. Switch to crystalline resonance scanning, Lysandra commanded. Her ship's bioorganic sensors, linked through Vex's mechanical systems and interpreted by human intuition, created a new way of seeing through the chaos. The rescue operation pushed every innovation they'd developed to its limit. Quantum crystalline shields, hybrid navigation systems, and technologies that had only existed in theory were now their only hope of survival. Inside the station, the combined teams faced challenges that would have been impossible for any single species to overcome. Human adaptability, Astari resilience, mechanoid precision, and quantum insight worked in harmony. When conventional tools failed, they created new ones. When standard procedures proved useless, they invented new protocols on the spot. The core chamber is through here, called Dr. Alina Santos, the station's lead researcher, her voice strained. But the quantum distortions are strongest in that section. No single species can survive exposure long enough to implement the containment sequence. Blackwood looked at his diverse team, an idea forming. Then we don't send a single species, we send all of us. What followed was perhaps the most daring rescue plan ever attempted. Lysandra's crystalline structure provided shielding, while Vex's mechanical components maintained stability. Zara's quantum nature allowed them to perceive safe paths through the distortions, while human ingenuity tied everything together in ways no one had imagined possible. With less than 30 minutes remaining, the combined team reached the core. The containment sequence required split-second timing between multiple species, each contributing abilities that complemented the others perfectly. Quantum field alignment at 15%, Unit 847 reported from the command center. 30%, 45%. Lysandra's crystals channeled energy, while Vex's systems regulated the flow. Human hands, guided by Zara's probability calculations, made adjustments that defied standard physics. Field alignment at 98%, containment holding, cascade revering. The victory came at a cost. Equipment was destroyed, ships were damaged, and every being involved was pushed to their absolute limits. But as the quantum distortions subsided and space returned to normal, something profound had changed. In the aftermath, as rescue teams helped evacuate the station's personnel, there was no discussion of species or protocol or technological hierarchies. They were simply people who had faced the impossible together and won. The old consortium would have deemed this situation unsalvageable, Director Helios noted during the debrief. They would have quarantined the entire sector and accepted the losses as unavoidable. That's the difference humans have brought to space, Lysandra responded, her crystalline form still showing signs of strain from the ordeal. They don't accept the impossible, they challenge it and they inspire others to do the same. The quantum cascade crisis became a turning point in galactic history, not just for the lives saved, but for proving beyond doubt that the future of space exploration and crisis response lay in unity rather than separation.